you after Mikel Arteta's press conference ahead of tomorrow night's game against Slavia Prague. Plenty discussed in this one, so I thought I'd pop on and just react to what he's had to say as promised, and then I'll do a little bit of a Q&A at the end of this. So before you start firing in all your questions, I'm just going to rattle off some of the main headlines from the story and some of the quotes Mikel Arteta had to say on obviously Kieran Tierney's injury, on Lucas Torreira, things like that, Martin Odegaard, Bukayo Saka. There's plenty covered, so please don't just fire in all your questions right now, because I'm going to rattle on for a few minutes first just to discuss the press conference, and then I'll take your questions. I hope you're all having a good day though. Good to see already some of you, a lot of you saying hello. I hope everyone is well. And yeah, looking forward to tomorrow's game. Big game. Right, so Kieran Tierney, we know 4 to 6 weeks. That's the statement that Arsenal put out before the press conference this morning. They say he doesn't need to have surgery, but he has damaged his ligaments, and that rules him out for 4 to 6 weeks. Now, we're about 6 weeks away from the end of the season. I think if you sort of count up to where the Europa League final will be, that's pretty much slap bang on 6 weeks away. So it's fair to say it is touch and go whether we will see Kieran Tierney play for Arsenal again this season. Fingers crossed we do, because we know how important a player he is to the team. I think he's created more chances than anyone else from open play this season. That says an awful lot, and it is going to be a big issue for Arsenal without Kieran Tierney. And I'll get to that in a minute about how they could possibly replace Kieran Tierney. But first, here's what Mikel had to say. He said, we had to make sure that he didn't need any surgery, which it doesn't look like he does. If that's the case, the time frame will be around 4 to 6 weeks. It could have been worse because the action looked quite scary, but he's feeling better and the damage is not that bad. At the end of the day, it's not the bad news that maybe we were expecting after the game. I think that's the positive thing that we have to look at, because I think we all felt, I'm pretty sure, even though maybe we didn't say it, the word cruciate ligament all went through our minds as Kieran Tierney was limping off the pitch against Liverpool, given how we saw his leg bent underneath him with the challenge with Milner. So the fact that it's only 6 weeks is actually a bit of a positive, because certainly in my mind I was very worried about whether this was going to be another Rob Holding type situation. It's not, but it's still bad news, because it looks like Arsenal are going to be without Kieran Tierney for the rest of the season, certainly for a massive large chunk of the season that remains. So that is going to be a blow. When he was asked, Mikel, whether Tierney would play again, he said, I don't know. We're going to have to go day by day to see how Kieran is feeling, how he's reacting when we get close to his playing time, and him training with the team. Depending on where we are and how he's feeling, we'll have to make a decision. Obviously, Kieran Tierney's got the small matter of the European Championships this summer with Scotland as well, and being the proud Scot he is, then he will certainly want to be playing in that. So fingers crossed for Kieran Tierney, fingers crossed we see him again for Arsenal, and fingers crossed he gets to fulfil his dream of playing for Scotland at a major championship this summer. The big question is for Arsenal now, how do you replace Kieran Tierney over these games? Do you just move Cedric over to left back and continue in the 4-2-3-1, or do you move Saka out of the attack and drop him into left back, where we all know Saka was so impressive last season? Now that is an interesting one, because I think if you do that, you'd certainly get a more natural threat and natural movement down that left-hand side with Saka there. But if you take Saka out of the attack, that is a big void taken out of the attack. He's been so good this season. I know, yes, there are other options for Mikel Arteta in attack. You can play Nicolas Pepe there, you can play Willian there, you can play Martinelli there, maybe, if you're thinking about Saka on the right. But I still feel like I just don't know. I think I would rather, play Cedric at left back and keep Saka in the attack. I think taking Saka out of the attack and moving him into left back, you're losing such a key, important cog in your midfield, in your attack, and it doesn't sit that well with me moving Saka out. I think you've got to either give Cedric a chance down the left hand side initially, first of all, then straight away taking Saka out, because if suddenly you're hurting yourself twice, you got a player who's not a left back playing left back, and you've taken out basically your key attacker as well, because let's face it, that's what Bukayo Saka has been this season for me. But in another way, if Saka goes there and he plays well, and if Pepe comes in and takes his opportunity, plays really well, then maybe that's a thing that Arsenal need as well, is to get a real fire in Nicolas Pepe for the final 6 weeks of the season. So it's a big decision for Mikel Arteta, and he talks about it here. This is what he had to say on how they could lose in Tierney and how they could replace him. We're going to have to make some adjustments because of Kieran's qualities are unique, and we don't have anybody with his qualities within the squad unless we start to move a lot of pieces. Without time to train, it's a little bit dangerous as well, but we're going to have to find different ways to fulfill that gap and use other things that can be effective as well. When he was asked about Bukayo Saka playing at left back in place of Tierney, and whether that would unbalance the team in an attacking sense, he says that's the reality. You have to change something and you have to find a different way of attacking. At the same time, the structure when you're defending and in transitional moments has to be stable and it has to be done by players that are comfortable doing that. We knew that left back was a weakness around the squad because we didn't have anybody to replace Kieran. We have to find different solutions. So obviously that decision now not to sign a left back in the January transfer window and allowing Kolasinac to go, obviously it's going to prove to be a costly decision at that one in terms of playing the remainder of the season without a recognised left back. But if there wasn't a genuine left back available and funds were tight, then I can understand why Arsenal chose not to do that. But it is a big, big blow. Sending in your questions, please. I'm just going to rattle through the rest of the press conference reaction and then I'll get to answering some of your questions as well. He was asked about Martin Odegaard. Martin Odegaard's picked up an injury. Well, actually, he picked up an injury on international break. We saw him get that injury while playing for Norway. And he is a doubt for tomorrow's game. And Mikel said, we will assess today how he's feeling. He's been carrying an injury for the last 2 or 3 days since he got injured with the national team. We have a few of them from the last game when we played Liverpool. So today will be the day where we see where everybody is at and we'll look to see who is available for tomorrow night. So Odegaard, a doubt. Saka, Xhaka and Smith Rowe all back training. And Mikel says that they will be, today was the first day they'll be training fully and we'll see how they will feel. Right, quickly before I get on to your questions, just want to talk a little bit about Lucas Torreira. I asked Mikel about the Torreira situation and whether the club have contacted Lucas given what's gone on the last couple of weeks and obviously the horrible tragic death of his mother and his comments about wanting to leave and join Boca Juniors. So I asked Mikel about them and he said to me, look, of course we contacted him, we have spoken to him and we know how difficult a time this is for him. He was really attached to his mum and he's really attached to his family. It's a hard time for him emotionally. There is a lot of thoughts that will go through his mind. When things are like that, it's not the moment to make decisions. And then I asked him if he could understand, given what's happened, Torreira's desire to return to South America. And Mikel said, I understand he's feeling how he's feeling emotionally. He probably feels the need and responsibility to be closer to his family, but it's not the moment to make decisions. And it certainly is a decision that has to be made by different parties. Now nothing is going to change. It's just an interview with some comments. Let's see what happens. So interesting, I thought, there from Mikel on Lucas Torreira. It makes it very, very clear there by the way he said he understands what he feels, but it's not a decision. It's a decision that's going to have to be made by different parties. So I think Lucas is going to have to accept that. It's hard for Arsenal just to grant him his wish of going to Boca Juniors when Boca Juniors probably aren't going to have the money to fund that sort of transfer. So you've got to find a balance there of meeting the players' emotional needs, but also understanding the club's financial needs at the same time. So it's a difficult one there for Mikel and for Arsenal, but it's one they're going to have to work out exactly how to handle. On the whole, I thought it was an interesting press conference from Mikel. The full transcript is over on arsenal.com, and also that we did a really good interview with Willian after that, and I do advise you to go there and watch that. I'm sure it's up on YouTube or on Arsenal's channels now, the press conference we did with Willian, where he talks heavily about social media abuse and the racist abuse that he has been suffering this season. He and plenty of players have been suffering this season. He's called on the authorities to take action. He says enough is enough. He spoke about how he's been fearful at times to even look at his phone after game because of the sheer scale of the emotional abuse that he's been suffering. A really strong, powerful press conference from Willian, and I do advise, if you haven't seen it yet, to head over to YouTube, where I'm sure you can find it, or head over to Arsenal's website and you can see it there. But an interesting one, and I will drop the comments from William, or some of the comments from Willian, into the comments section below this video, and I'll pin it there so you can have a read at that. So yeah, that's about it from today's press conference reaction. Now I will scroll through some of the many questions I've seen been popping up here. I've probably got about 10 minutes to go through some of these because my wife's cooking my dinner downstairs, and she runs the shop in this household. So if my dinner's ready and she shouts up, I'm gonna have to go running, I'm afraid. Let me just scroll through now. Reese says, do you think Tierney might play against Brighton on the last day of the season, as that's 6 weeks? Well, it depends. I think it depends where Arsenal are in the Europa League. If Arsenal have qualified for the Europa League final, if Tierney is back fit around then and they need to get him some game time, then yes, I think they'll try and do all they can to get him some valuable minutes ahead of that Europa League final, because they'd certainly want him to play in that. But if they're out of the Europa League, if there's nothing really to play for, I don't think they'll probably want to take any risk with Tierney, and I think they'll probably understand his desire to make sure he doesn't pick up any injury or reoccurrence of the injury ahead of the Euros. So I think a lot of it all depends on where Arsenal's position in the is in terms of their season. Nissan's asking about Saka playing at left back. I did give my thoughts on that in the video, Nissan. So I think it's just going to be an interesting one. I'm not sure about playing Saka at left back just because I really like Saka playing in the forward line, and I think you're kind of hurting yourself if you take Saka out of that to play him in that position. But I think he's certainly going to offer you more as an attacking left back than Cedric is as well. So I think it's something for Mikel going to have to balance carefully. Dotan asking, there should be a left back in the under-23s that can step up. There's actually not really. I think Joel Lopez has been playing for the under-23s a bit this season. He's obviously pretty young still, never got anywhere near the first team since he's moved from Barcelona. Obviously Boller has gone out as well. Obviously Kolasinac went, so they've kind of left themselves very, very short in that department, with Ainsley going out as well. Patrick says, do you think we start with a back three? It's an interesting one, Patrick. I was talking about that with another few of the Arsenal journalists, actually. We were wondering if Mikel would maybe go back to a back three, given Tierney's injury, and play Saka that side, and then you still have him more as an attack-minded player rather than having to worry too much about defence and tracking the opposition's winger. I think he'll probably, for me, I think he probably sticks with the back four just because that's what he's become accustomed to now. But it's an option, especially with David Luiz's injury as well. It means you could play three centre-backs potentially there and sort of shore things up a little bit in a defensive mindset. But it's also, you've got to wonder where the number 10 fits in. And the number 10 has been so key to Arsenal's improvement since Christmas, whether it be Emile Smith-Rowe or Martin Odegaard, that playing a back three, it's quite difficult to fit a number 10 into that formation at times. So, yeah, it's certainly one for Mikel to ponder. Lots of you saying you want to see Saka at left back, although Sohan there says I'll play Cedric at left back and keep Saka on right wing. Callum asks for update on Hakimi. No update on Hakimi, I'm afraid. As it stands at the moment, that's just something for the summer. It's not something Arsenal will be looking to do at the moment. It's cost an awful lot of money. I think they need to know where they're going to be finishing and what competition, if any, European competition they're going to be in next season, if they could afford that sort of deal. Quite a few people here saying back three is an option. It is certainly an option. Taib says, realistically, how many players do you see Arsenal signing in the summer? It's really hard to put a number on it, Taib. It's still some way off. Like I said, Arsenal don't even know what competitions they're going to be playing in next season, what sort of money's going to be coming in through that. So it's hard. But I mean, Mikel certainly wants a fair few. I think you're looking at least 4 or 5, I'd imagine, because he'll want to. I think he'll need a new striker. He'll need a new left back cover for left back. I think he'll need a new right back, because I wouldn't be surprised to see Hector Bellerin leave central midfield as well. And then you've got the number 10 situation. So there's plenty. You know, I'm certainly expecting 4 or 5 players in. That's what Mikel Arteta will want anyway. Nisant's asking, how far do you think Miguel Aziz is from the first team? I wonder if next season we'll see Aziz go out on loan. I think that might be the best option for him at the moment. He's still very, very young. I think a season out on loan will do him the world of good. Ben, do you think it's completely out of the question that Arsenal listen to offers for Saka? Yes, 100%. I mean, look, unless Man City, would Arsenal sell to Man City? I mean, they might do. But say someone came in and whacked a £200 million offer on the table for Bukayo Saka, then Arsenal are going to listen. That it's a business at the end of the day. But realistically, Man City aren't going to do that. And I can't see Arsenal accepting, say someone put 70, 80 million down for him. I don't think they're going to accept that sort of thing, especially to a domestic rival. So unless someone put in a monumental bid that had to be listened to, then yes, I do think it's out of the question that they listen to offers for Saka this summer. Charlie says, summer transfers, what do your contacts think? Will it be normal or difficult? It will be difficult, very difficult. Everyone that I've spoken to, agents, everyone expects it's going to be a very, very difficult. You just have to look at the finances. Man City announcing £100 million loss the other day. Arsenal have already announced their loss of whatever it was now, I forgot, 60 million. And that's just for the season before the main section of the pandemic. Arsenal are on course to lose well over £100 million last season. So the transfer market is going to be very, very difficult this summer. Everyone's expecting that. Reese, would you rather keep Guendouzi or Torreira when both return on loan in the summer? Oh, that's a tough one. I think Guendouzi's more suited to the Premier League. I think he's possibly got a higher ceiling than Lucas Torreira in terms of how good he can be, but Guendouzi's only got a year left on his contract, and I don't think he's going to sign a new one. And Torreira's got longer on his contract, so I'd probably rather keep Torreira, but in truth, I'd probably sell both of them. If they get decent bids in, I'd sell both of them. Yo, could Boca even afford Torreira's wages? I don't know. No idea. Depends what wages Torreira would want. If he's so desperate to go there, maybe he'll take a big wage cut to go there. But I think the main thing is, could Boca afford Torreira? And Arsenal aren't just going to give him away. And I think there's so many ifs and buts about that potential transfer this summer. Ashton, I'm craving the Emirates and a doner meat and chips and a pint. Not too long, hopefully, Ashton. Fingers crossed. Ozone, if Arteta was in charge of Dortmund, Haaland would be in the under-23s. I'm not sure about that. Ozone, you got to think he's playing Saka and Smith Rowe regularly enough. I think you're probably referring to Bellerin a little bit there, but I think the whole contract situation with Bellerin is a big reason why we're not seeing him in and around the first team anymore. Ricardo, is there any chance of Aaron Ramsey returning? No, I don't think so. I think that ship has sailed, Ricardo. Michael says, surely to goodness, if there's a doubt Odegaard, Charles, then play Martinelli on the left of a three with Smith Rowe in the middle. We can't play Aubameyang and Lacazette together. It doesn't work. Michael, spot on. See exactly what I would do. If there's no Odegaard tomorrow, I would 100% play Smith Rowe on the left, Martinelli on... Smith Rowe in the middle, the number 10, and Odegaard... I'll get that right in a minute, Michael. I would 100% play Smith Rowe at number 10 and Gabriel Martinelli on the left, Saka on the right, and then Aubameyang probably up front. That would be my selection for tomorrow if Odegaard isn't going to make it. If he is going to make it, then I'd probably play Smith Rowe on the left instead of Martinelli. Hamza, hello, Charles. Do you have any information on Mikel Arteta's plan for William Saliba for this summer's transfer window? I don't, other than what I was told by Arsenal at the time, at the loan, that the plan was certainly for him to come back in the summer and that he still featured heavily in Arsenal's long-term future, and it wasn't a deal. There wasn't a chance. At that point, I was told that he wouldn't be going anywhere on a permanent deal this summer. That's why there was no clause inserted in the contract with Nice. Whether that's changed for now, I certainly haven't heard it has. And the word we get continues to be that Saliba remains an important figure in Arsenal's future. But it all depends on him as well. If he comes back in the summer and he doesn't train well and Mikel doesn't think he's good enough, then obviously he's not going to be around for too long. Reese says, I've lost that one there. Reese said, I think it was something about Willian's press conference and how honest he was. Yeah, it was a fantastic press conference. If you haven't seen it yet, everyone, please, I advise you to go over and watch it. It was really important stuff from Willian. Brandon, what's your take on the leaked Arsenal kit? It's too Ajax for me, Brandon. I don't like it. I know they're trying to play it as a... I can't remember what year it was. It was that night kit when it was white all the way down the side. I can't remember which season that was now, but I don't like it. It's too Ajax. My first thought, as soon as I looked at it, was that's an Ajax kit. It just didn't feel like an Arsenal kit to me, so I didn't like it. Whether it's the real one, we don't know. It's Footy Headlines certainly believe it is, and they're normally pretty spot on when it comes to that sort of thing. But yeah, I didn't like it, I have to say. Benjamin asking for my predicted 11. I'm going to do a video tomorrow morning, Benjamin. I need to think a little bit more about my predicted 11. So I'll do a video tomorrow looking ahead to that game on tomorrow night and looking at sort of the key issues that Arteta's going to have and my predicted 11. Edwin there saying I think his name was Edwin, saying he thought Edouard would be a top signing in the summer. I agree. I've done a video on that. If you haven't watched it yet, please do head out. It was my video I did this morning. And I mentioned there, I did a bit on Edouard and why I think he'd be a really, really good signing for Arsenal this summer. Ramsey says, does Bellerin have a future at the club? I mean, he does, but I still think it's more likely that he leaves this summer. It depends on who can. It depends on what offers arrive, really. It has to be suitable for Bellerin to leave. It has to be suitable for Arsenal as well in terms of the money available. I think both parties, Arsenal and Bellerin, would be quite happy for him to move on this summer. I think we're already seeing Arteta moving away from Bellerin. He's not really been playing recently too much, although he did say in his press conference that everyone's available at the moment. But you have to... I think that Bellerin probably will go this summer if a decent offer comes in for him. Sam, did you see? Oh no, was it? Did you see Klopp seducing Odegaard? I did see Klopp with Odegaard after the game. Yes. Someone's saying Pavon and 10 million for Torreira. I don't think Pavon plays for Boca Juniors, doesn't he? Doesn't he? He played in MLS now. Christian Pavon. He was a player that Arsenal actually liked. Raul Sanllehi liked him, and he knew his agent well, which Raul obviously knew a lot of agents well, and he was quite close to. He was certainly looking at Pavon. It was an opportunity for Arsenal, but let me have a look at that. Oh, he does play for Boca Juniors. Is he on loan? Did he go? I could have sworn Pavon was ended up in the MLS. Oh, he was on loan at LA Galaxy, so still Boca Junior players. There you go. Didn't know that. I thought he was permanently over at Boca Juniors. Sam, we need a Aguero world-class finisher. He is a world-class finisher, but he's been injured a bit recently. He's getting on about in his age. I'm not sure about Aguero. I think Arsenal have got too many older players getting towards the end of their contracts, or getting towards the end of their careers. I don't think they really need another one. People they're asking about Buendia. He's certainly a player that Arsenal like. They've watched him an awful lot of times. I've spoke about him before on these videos. Edu is very close with Buendia's agent. He's the same agent that has got Emi Martinez. They're in regular contact. Arsenal have had scouts watching Buendia for the last couple of seasons. My only issue with it is if they can't get Odegaard, he would probably be, he would be someone they look at. It just depends on what sort of money that Norwich would be asking for Buendia. They're obviously coming up into the Premier League. They're not going to really need too much money. They're not going to want to sell their best players. So I think it will take a lot of money to get Buendia out of Norwich in the summer. A lot of you asking if Saka is being sold. No, he's not being sold. He's not. Don't worry about it. Look, unless someone whacked in 200 million, as I said, I cannot see there's any reason that Arsenal are going to be selling Saka here. So, no. DC Pioneer, hey Charles, do you ever get frustrated with answers Arteta gives you in a press conference? And are there questions you want to ask but can't? There's certainly no questions you want to ask. You can ask whatever you want. In Arsenal, never tell you at all what you can and can't ask. They wouldn't be able to. I don't think anyone would even listen to them if that was the case. Do I get frustrated, or do we get frustrated in some of the answers? Well, yes, but that's not just Arteta. That's with all footballers and managers, because a lot of times they don't ask the questions. They're like politicians, aren't they? So yeah, sometimes I get frustrated, but I thought sometimes he answers very, very well. I thought he answered my Torreira questions very well today. So yeah, I'm not going to have a go at him for that, not at all. Irish bro, how was working with Emery in the media? It was tough. Look, Emery was a really nice guy. It was tough just because of the language issue and the language barrier, and he didn't understand everything at times, and his answers were, weren't great for the press because they didn't make a lot of sense, basically. But he was a very nice guy. He was really warm. He was welcoming. He took his time to talk to you. So I had no issue with Emery on a personal level or anything like that. I thought he was a really good bloke. And he's obviously a very good manager, and he's showing that since he's gone back to Villarreal. It just didn't work out for him at Arsenal. It wasn't the right fit. And it was pretty clear from being in and around the club, being behind the scenes, that there was it was just never going to work with Emery at Arsenal after that first season. The relationship had broken down with the players, and he had to go. People saying 25 million for Bellerin. I would say that's about the figure that Arsenal would want for him, yes, in the summer. Obviously, he's still got a couple of years left in his contract. He's still young, heck, so we forget how young he is. So they'll hold out. They won't give him away for cheap. They'll try and get as good a possible deal as they can for him. And that's why I'm saying we're Hector. It's not an absolute foregone conclusion he's going to go this summer. It has to be right. It has to be right for Arsenal, and it has to be right for Bellerin. Who keeps calling me Chris? Quite a few of you calling me Chris. Right, I'm going to answer one more question, you guys, and then I've got to go because my dinner's on the table. Let's have a look. JK says, do you think Arteta's reluctance to play Martinelli is because he's looking to continue his striker training and then play him up front? I think that might have a little bit of a part to it, but I don't think it's going to. I don't think it's exactly why he's not playing at the moment. I just don't think he's just not really been in his plans recently for whatever reason. But I don't think it's just specifically because he's working with him on moving him into a central striker role. Even when we've seen him come on recently, he's been coming on as a left winger, not as a central striker. So no, I don't think it's purely down because of that. But I think it's just mainly because he just hasn't really fancied him recently. It's as simple as that, really, as frustrating as it has been for us. But like I said, hopefully, I'm hoping we might get a real look at Martinelli tomorrow, especially if Odegaard isn't fit and Smith Rowe plays at number 10, then it's a good opportunity to play Martinelli on the left. People asking what's for dinner. Roast chicken. But it's not a full English roast, not today. But it is chicken, but we're having it with chips and stuff. Not the most interesting answer, I'm afraid. I wanted to answer this one. Gunner deja vu. Emery's Arsenal, as woeful as it was still statistically far superior to Arsenal. Check the piece on The Athletic. He also had a worse squad. It depends how you rate that. I think he obviously had a much better first season. But I think when you say statistically it was miles better for Arsenal, it was for that first season. But if you take the second season, just start from scratch there, then that second season was awful, and it was just absolutely just sitting there watching it was dreadful. What we saw against Liverpool on Saturday, we saw for about 2 months solidly towards the end of Emery's reign. It was so bad, and again, from being in and around the club, it wasn't changing. You could tell he'd absolutely lost the dressing room. It was done. There was no coming back from it. I don't see that yet with Arteta. Maybe we'll see it in the coming weeks if he continues to play. We have more performances like we saw against Liverpool, and that happens on a regular basis. Then, yeah, Mikel's going to be in serious trouble. I don't think we're at that stage yet, but Emery absolutely 100% was. It was broken, the relationship. There was no coming back from it. It was so clear. And there had to be a change, and eventually it came. Right, everyone, I'm heading off now. So thank you very much for taking part in this. As always, I will try and do a video again in the morning, looking ahead to tomorrow night's game, giving my predicted 11 and that sort of thing. So thank you for watching, everyone. Have a good evening. Don't worry about the Champions League tonight. It's a load of rubbish, that competition. The big elite European competition, of course, takes place on Thursday night. So enjoy your evening. Yeah, I'll speak to you very, very soon. Bye-bye.